Hello, everybody. I apologise if the lighting's a bit too bright. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm new to doing this stuff. I hope it gets better as I go along with these videos. But hey ho, it is what it is. Whatever. Last night was Wrestlemania. My God Almighty. But weirdly, for the first time in my life since being a wrestling fan, which is over 20 plus years now, I have never actually stayed up till ungodly hours watching WrestleMania live, which, come to think of it, is weird. I've never done it. And I know over the years WrestleMania's got longer and longer and longer. And last night it was exhausting. If any of you watched it alongside me last night, Jesus Christ, I feel sorry for you. I literally sat there last night with my friend, and we were absolutely spent by the end of it. We watched the whole 7.5 hours of the kickoff show to the main event, from the very beginning to the bitter end. Wow. I will start with the kickoff show. The first match that we actually had on the kickoff show was Buddy Murphy versus Tony Nese. For the Cruiserweight Championship. Now, I had a feeling they were going to open with the Cruiserweight Championship on the kickoff show, because I think they generally do most years. And that's generally its usual position. The first match you see on the card in its entirety. This was a relatively quick match for me. Both men got the stuff in. We saw some really good, really top-notch stuff in this match. Don't ask me to go through the whole thing. I'm trying to keep this video short. It was a good match. It was well presented. It was one of the better matches for me on the card, and I don't mean just the kickoff. I mean the whole card. And when your first match is one of your better matches on the whole card, you're in for a shit. You're in for it. Then we followed that with the Women's Battle Royal. I am not going to list everybody in this match. I am not good. I'll be here all day doing it else. It was okay. The trouble I find with this battle royal, it's also the same with the Andre the Giant battle royal, because there's too many people in the ring. It's hard to keep track of what's going on, and it's hard to, it's a really difficult match to follow, and it was okay, I suppose. It surprised me with the winner. I don't think I'm gonna give away any winners. In case you've not watched the show, it was an okay match. The winner will quite maybe surprise you, because it's not who you're expecting. But yeah, generally an overly okay-ish WWE style battle royal. And then following that, after your bullshit talking in the middle, your hyping and that, we came to the Revival versus Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, a match that was added about 3 days ago to the card. Now, one thing that I really enjoy in wrestling is tag team wrestling. It can be a real spectacle, and it can be absolutely fantastic. But the problem I found with WrestleMania this year with the tag team divisions is it's been so slapdash. It's been left to the last possible minute. My God. This is supposed to be the tag team division. It's supposed to mean something. But it didn't feel like it meant anything. This match was literally thrown together. There was no build towards it, no nothing. You do get a feel good moments at the end. There is a lot of old school working in the match. The heels cutting off the faces for the most part of the match, controlling the match, fairly quick tags in and out. A general decent flow to the match. Actually, it was actually a little bit better than what I was anticipating. I was actually expecting this match to be a real shitfest 2 minute end of story kind of match, but it went on a little bit longer than I was expecting. Maybe a couple of minutes too long, possibly. But I truly, if you've followed Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins since they debuted in the company, and you think about where they are now in the company, these guys have seriously fallen. Seriously fallen. When they debuted with the WWE, they were the Major Brothers, and they had a cool, in my view, it is a pretty cool, snappy gimmick. It wasn't anything fancy, They looked like a tag team. They looked functional, and then they joined up with the Edgeheads. Well, they became the Edgeheads with Edge and all that story, and they had an attraction behind them. They were, they looked like they were going to build them for future serious success. But in the last 10 years or more, these guys haven't really been used in a great manner. I mean, Kurt Hawkins did leave for a period of time, but recently came back. Well, came back when the brand splits began. The current brand split, which was a couple of years ago now. Is it 3 years ago? 4? I can't remember. I can't keep up. Yeah. It wasn't a bad match. It wasn't a great match. Could have been better. Could have been worse. But it's not the worst thing we see on this card, believe me. The next match on the pre-show, the kickoff show, which many people don't really put this part into perspective. They don't really class it as WrestleMania. They just see it as the bit before. But we had the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which quite honestly was format. It was basically a format. It was an obvious winner. Not really much happened. It was to be honest, there's really not much to speak about this match. To be honest, you don't even need to watch the match to know who won. You don't even need to go look at spoilers to know who won this match. It's just, it was just there. You just, fuck it, move it along. And then we go into the main picture. We go into the main show. We have usual WrestleMania hype package coming into the show with the national anthem and your bloody blah blah, and then the first picture you see at WrestleMania, Alexa Bliss comes down and says she can make a moment. She make a WrestleMania moment just by clicking the fingers, and lo and behold, who comes behind her? Let's reel him out one more time. Hulk Hogan. Guys, this is getting so old. Why? Why are we rolling? Why? What? Why? Why are we rolling Hulk Hogan out? This segment was so friggin' awkward. I don't even remember what Hogan said because I wasn't even listening to him, because I find it so drab. I find it so boring, quite honestly. I mean, the mere fact they were trying to put Hogan over as a face, and he had Alexa Bliss who's still heel, and they were trying to bring them two together, and it just didn't work because a heel and a face together on the same stage, a heel being a heel, face being a face, it just did not gel. It didn't work. Now, if it was a face and a face, it would have worked perfectly. You know, you would have had that face off face bounce off, but this just didn't. It was, quite honestly, a lot of people are talking about this moment. A lot of people are saying it wasn't bad. A lot of people are saying it was good. This is just my opinion. I thought it was terrible. I thought we didn't need to see Hogan. The show didn't need Hogan to open it. And then, one of the biggest surprises of the night is they are wrapping up their bullshit on the stage. Out comes Paul Heyman. Now, I literally had my mouth wide open for this because Paul Heyman, the coming down in the opening 10 minutes of the show, what the fuck? He gets on the microphone and saying if Brock isn't on Brock says if he isn't on last, he wants to get it done with as soon as possible. He wants to be on first. Down comes Brock Lesnar. Down comes Seth Rollins. What the fuck? We've got the Universal Championship match right here, right now. Man, this match, and down comes Rollins, and this match, blink, and you miss it, really. If you were the person that went to make a coffee or a cup of tea, or went and got some snacks, you know, thinking, you know, because it was so early on, you know, you thought and you come in and you're like, what just happened? You will have missed the Universal Bout match. Believe me, it was that quick. There's not really a lot to talk about the match because it was a typical Brock Lesnar match, you know. Lesnar's on top for most of the match, and then his opponent comes back a bit, and yeah, it was an excited to start with a little bit, but when I think WrestleMania, I don't think short horse matches. And following that, we had Randy Orton versus AJ Styles, which again, weird placement on the card. They told a really good story in this match. It could have been a lot better, but they told a really good story. The story going through the match was Randy was trying to nail, you know, hit him with RKO. Every different scenario that Randy Orton hit RKOs with it, he was trying to hit him with it, and them scenarios, but AJ was countering it. Randy Orton did eventually hit the RKO, but didn't secure the win. But it was quite a slower paced match than I was expecting, but it was a well worked match. You know, it wasn't a really bad match, but it wasn't a really good match either. I was expecting more from this match, but that's just my opinion. The match that followed this was the match that I thought was going to kick off the show: Shane McMahon versus The Miz. Now, this match went all over the arena. You know, you had your spot, you had your typical Shane McMahon kind of spots. In the finish was a typical Shane McMahon finish. You know, to be honest, this match didn't excite me one iota. It was quite boring, in my view. It was quite slow, lethargic. But The Miz did a really good job of selling this match, though. He did a really good job with it. But the fact that we're still doing this Shane McMahon WrestleMania matches is getting a bit old now. This is about the 4th or 5th now, is it? Or too many there, is it 3? I can't remember, but it's getting too much. I think it's 4 or 5. Following that, I believe we had the SmackDown Tag Team title match. Nakamura versus The Bar versus Ricochet and Aleister Black versus the Usos. Each team got the stuff in. Each team had their own light in the match. You know, it wasn't as long as I was expecting it to be, and there wasn't as many high spots as I was anticipating. But we did see a wicked black mass from Aleister Black, and a wicked, what do you call it now? Is it 630 from Ricochet? And the Usos patting wicked splashes. It was a half decent match, like given more time and more pacing and more of an opportunity on the card, it would have shone a little bit more. But for me, this match was just, it was okay. It wasn't the worst match of the night, but it weren't the best. Following this match, we had what did we have after this match? It's right. There's a lot of matches, and I'm doing this off the top of my head. We had the four-way match. I think it was followed by the Raw Tag Team title 4-way. I might have got this positioning wrong. This match wasn't as good as I was anticipating. I was really expecting a lot more. Although it is a really cool, really cool ending to the match. When Beth Phoenix nails the glam slam from off the top rope. It looked impactful. It looked great. It looked amazing. But my highlight also, so far on the card, that quite annoyed me was the fact that everybody that come down to the ring had a basic entrance. They had the normal basic attack. Nobody was really dressing up for Mania. And it was kind of sad. It was annoying. Now this match did really the outcome will shock you. The winner of this match does genuinely shock me, but it was an okay match. The winners of the match shocked me, so that that gave it's one of the more memorable moments of the night for me, because of that general shock moment. Then we follow in, which again, a really strange placement in the card, the WWE Championship match between Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston. The story going in is Kofi has never had a one-on-one WWE Championship match in 11 years, and the story going in is he's had to jump over obstacles to get into this title match at Mania, and he's had things ripped away from him, and it's been a half decent storyline. I want to say it's not been the best. It could have been better, but it hasn't been the worst. It's one of the on the storylines of the actual pay-per-view, which I would have placed this match just before the main event. Because this is the match people were hyping for. They wanted this. Was the main event, and this match was the two matches people will really give a shit about. Everything else was just a dare kind of situation. But this match, Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan, was the best match of the night. It was very well paced. It played to both Kofi's strengths and Daniel's strengths. Both guys did a really good job working together. You had your high spots, your low spots, your disbelief moments where you thought he's not going to do it, and you had your moments where you thought he's going to do it. You had your Roman trying to get involved spot, New Day spot, your typical WWE style match, really. But it was a really good match. It was the match of the night for me, by far. Yeah. The next match on the card, on the placement of the card, was the most disappointing match of the night. Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio. Now, if you thought you blinked and missed the first match, this match was worse. This match was you blink your eyes and you missed the whole match. It was silly. It was ridiculous. It was ill-advised. It was just unbelievably stupid. You got Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is a legend. He's been around a long, long time. Joe's been around a long, long time. This was Joe's moment in the sun. This was his WrestleMania moment. And you give him a 5-second match. It was just... they shit all over these guys, and I felt sorry for them. Because other matches that didn't deserve it got more of a push on this card. They got more of a time frame than this on this card. And if that wasn't bad enough, we went into McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, that I personally was looking forward to, but ended up being a really boring, slow, quick match. Then there's not really much to say about this match at all. It's typical. It felt like you were going through the emotions. I know it was Roman's first singles match since coming back from leukemia, and I'm glad he has come back from leukemia and everything. I don't know, of course, you already knew the outcome for this match anyway, but I thought you could have had such a good match. The build, what McIntyre's been doing, has been great. Poorly written, WWE look like, but really, what he's been given, he's knocked out the park, and it's, he's been the Scottish psychopath, which you didn't see much in this match. By the way, McIntyre had the first, literally, WrestleMania moment entrance. My God, this guy actually had a freaking entrance, man. Reigns had fireworks as well. Thank God. I mean, this is WrestleMania, and everything so far has been ridiculous in terms of entrances and presentation. I mean, Daniel Bryan looked like a freaking bum coming down to the ring. He had no top on. He just had his normal ring gear on, no specialty, no nothing. Now, bear in mind, you could have done something with that gimmick because he's the Eco Champion. What was maybe an Eco throne? Jesus. And I believe we were followed by Elias's performance. We had a pre-tape package of him doing the drums, playing the piano, and then he appeared he did the traditional. He appeared in the ring with his guitar, and he played with That sounds dodgy, but he played with himself. They put all the bits of music together that he played throughout the segment together into one. And then, just as he was about to sing his song, the lights went out. A vignette came on the Titantron of an old baseball game. I don't know about baseball. I don't know who it was. I mean, I don't watch baseball. I don't like baseball. Which then, that went off, and then, so, you think you're untouchable. My God. Thug Life. The Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena. Not how Cena is now. The Doctor of Thugonomics. The whole stick that got Cena over in the beginning. This moment, I love this moment myself, because when I was growing up, as a young WWE fan at the time, I'm not just a WWE fan. As I've grown up, I've found a lot more stuff, and I don't really watch WWE that often anymore. But when I was a kid, and I saw Cena rising up, this is what got him over. This is what people are enjoying with Cena. He's rapping, he's taking the piss out of other guys, and it was so nice to see it. I know we don't see it very often, but it was nice to see. It was quite refreshing. But I wasn't expecting it to be at this moment. I was expecting it to be later in the night with the Kurt Angle match, but it weren't. But yeah, it was a nice little fun segment. Not much more I can say about that. It was nice. But yeah, and then we followed that with what for me was a really, really boring match. The slowest match of the night. Now, I said it to my friend who was watching it with, this match needed... I know it's PG era, but it could have done with blood. It could have done with more aggression. It could have done with more bite. The fact that you had about four table spots altogether, and out of 4 table spots, only 1 table broke. 1 IT table broke. Now, when I was going up with wrestling, if somebody got back body dropped onto a table, it collapsed. If somebody got powerbombed on the table, it collapsed. Not that there'd be tables down. They did sturdy as anything. They don't break, and you think, why? It adds to the drama. It adds to the effect. So it was just. It felt like it was seriously going through an emotion. Oh, by the way, Triple H's entrance was really good, and Batista's was worthy of WrestleMania moments. Triple H had the whole Mad Max theme going with his entrance this year, which I thought was really cool. And Dave had the whole Hollywood style thing. He had all his goons come lining up and come on the stage in a car and everything. Really, really sweet, cool, nice. Probably the best entrances of the night, quite honestly. But yeah, I mean, I've seen these guys feuding over the years, and and those matches were much better than this match, because it was, it felt more personal in the matches gone by, and the fact that you didn't have the blood, and you didn't have you didn't have the visuals for this match. To me, it should have been so much more personal, but it wasn't. It felt really, really slow and clunky, and I mean, I said to my friend that this match really should have been what they wanted at WrestleMania 30, I think it was, when Daniel Bryan main evented with Randy Orton and Batista. This match should have been Evolution versus Evolution. The reason why people would have been okay with this for this WrestleMania is because it wasn't for any championships and it wasn't involved in Royal Rumble. Whereas the reason why people didn't like it before, the idea was plainly because Batista won the Rumble and you were going to get Batista Randy in the main event. People didn't like that. But it would have been fine for this. It was boring as hell. People saying it was a good match, people saying it was alright, but in my opinion, I found it quite bleh, boring, methodical. I couldn't wait for the match to be over, actually. And then we went into Kurt Angle's retirement match. Right, now if you follow Kurt Angle's career, if you watched TNA / Impact in his days there as well, then you will know that this match was not worthy of Kurt Angle. The caliber of talent is wrestling, the caliber of matches he's had, and they gave him this stick. This was horse shit. Baron Corbin, come on. I know it goes well storyline wise, but the ending was flat. It didn't feel like there's that much emotion involved. Kurt didn't look cheesed off at the end. And I was expecting some big legend come down or something and embrace Angle or something. Or what I was hoping for was Angle's going to tap him in 5 seconds. Somebody the real opponent was going to come down or something, and you're going to see him off properly. But it was just, again, another match going through the motions. Another match that had zero meaning to it, other than the fact it was his retirement match. That could have been so much better, so much more meaningful. A much more meaningful opponent than just the WWE's latest flavour. And then we move into the co-main event, which again was very oddly placed. Was the Intercontinental title match, Lashley versus Demon Balor. Again, didn't last long. Wicked powerbomb by Finn Balor. Can't deny that powerbomb. I thought the Demon's paint for this match wasn't as good as previous times. It didn't feel as interesting. But I do think the WWE need to use the Demon Balor more often because it's a really good, unique gimmick. An idea I come up with not so long ago was you could do it as though he's got a split personality. When he's Finn Balor, he's a face. When he's Demon Balor, he turns into a monster and he's heel. He'll just beat the shit out of anybody. You know, and you could play on that. Play on that he's got like a double personality. And not just Demon comes out on the odd occasion. But maybe WrestleMania or fucking SummerSlam or something like that. You know. It was a standard match. You know, you knew where it was going to go. You knew how it was going to be paced. You know, nobody really looked strong. Really, really strong in this. Nobody looked like $1,000,000. It was just there. And then we come to the main event. First ever women's main event of WrestleMania ever in history. I don't know how many more times you have to say it. All through the night they kept all about the main event and promoting it. It didn't need any more promoting, but did it anyway. Really cool entrance of Ronda Rousey. Joan Jett was on the stage singing his theme song. Brilliant. First class. Charlotte Flair had it in a helicopter that took forever to actually get to where they were going to go with this. Red carpet, robe. You know. Becky Lynch had the most watered down walk into WrestleMania out of all of them. To be honest, out of all 3 competitors. She didn't have anything special. Now, bear in mind, she was the fan favourite going into it. She was the one everybody wanted to win. You thought they would have done something a little bit special, but they didn't. This match didn't deliver for me at all. By this point, I was seriously exhausted, and a lot of everybody else was. Bear in mind, we're literally 7 hours into the program, if you watch the kickoff, and the fans weren't really into it that much because the fans must have been absolutely shattered. You know, the match itself wasn't a great match. There was a really, really scary bump with Ronda Rousey quite early on when Becky drop kicks Rousey and she lands on the outside, and it looked quite scary actually. Well, yeah, it was just a Rousey. It was just like Rousey gets her shit in, Charlotte gets a bit of shit in, Becky occasionally gets a little bit of shit in. You know, it just didn't. It didn't feel like it really gelled. Unlike the WWE Evolution pay-per-view, when you had Charlotte versus Becky, which was a really good match, it didn't have that feel. It didn't have that quality to it. It felt like the third, you know, like you're going through the motions. It felt quite not slow paced, but they did a table spot where the table didn't actually break. It was a complete botch. Oh, there's a botch early on in the night with Bayley's entrance when her thingies didn't actually blow up properly. But yeah, that was early in that. I didn't really rank this match that highly. It didn't fulfill my expectations. The finish wasn't what I wanted. What I wanted to see. What I wanted to see was Becky Lynch tapping out Ronda Rousey. We didn't get that. We did not get that. We got an half-baked conclusion. It just wasn't very strong instead. But yeah, overall for me, WrestleMania was piss poor. It was a bad performance. There was not much build up to half the matches. Most of the matches that were throwaway. A lot of them didn't even have your hype packages before because there just wasn't anything to hype. In the matches that they did hype, did have a bit of hype package. You know, and the fact that the Universal title was on first, which blew my mind. The fact that the WWE Championship was in the middle of the card, the Intercontinental title was second to last, and nobody gave a shiny shite about it. You know, it was just a really drab pay-per-view. I've seen a lot better WrestleManias. They've done better than this. They can do better than this. I think shortening the show will be beneficial to the product. And I also think actually put more effort into the wrestling and not just the stories. You watch WrestleMania for wrestling as well as stories. You're a wrestling promotion promoting wrestling. Give us some actual wrestling. Give us something to sink our teeth into. I hope you enjoyed the review. For me, I give WrestleMania 5 out of 10. And I'll see you next time. Be nice to each other.